I have an idea of an agenda that I, kind of mapped out, but since there's so few of us, I thought, well, maybe we could just start with, if people are okay with it, I'll introduce myself and then see what you've got going on and see if we can help out any of the, maybe I can direct the instruction more towards what you have going on. So my name is Calin Duke, and I work for Sustainable Nantucket on the island. And I am an environmentalist and an upcycle designer. Some people call us refashionistas. I love taking clothing. It used to be from the take it or leave it. Now it's just friends who donated and making it into something new. And I'm really excited. Today we're doing sweaters, and it could be anything from repairing your sweaters to altering them to turning them into something else. So I have a lot planned for us, but I'd love to hear from you all. If you have a sweater with you, it looks like a lot of you do, some issues you have with it, and see if we can address it. Would anyone like to share what they've got, see what they're thinking?
I think the large holes on the sweater, I'm trying to find mine right now, but it's like a long hole that's just a big hole that kind of unraveled.
Okay, is it on the sweater that you have with you there?
Yes, I'm trying to find it.
It's good to see you again, Mary.
Okay.
And other people too on the Zoom, if you have ideas, shout them out. Okay, so where is that? Is that the shoulder? Oh no, it's down by the cuff.
Yeah, it's a cuff on a sweater, but they're very large holes from the moth.
Right. Oh.
I love this sweater, and I probably should just recycle it and cut it with some of the designs that you had, but it was one of my favorite sweaters, but I think it's probably beyond repair. But the holes are huge.
Yeah, it looks like they're about the width of your finger, yeah?
Yeah. So I just, as you can see, they're all, and they're really big.
So did any of the things that we had talked about last time, I know it wasn't specific to sweaters, but like would you be into? Was that Roxanne?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry. I thought you're welcome to shout out ideas. Maybe putting a patch on it or adorning it. Do any of those ideas appeal to you, or?
I don't know what's best. Like I said, I love the sweater so much I want to keep it, but I think it's maybe beyond repair.
I have one of the first videos I have planned is for fixing small holes. So maybe let's watch that and see if you think that you could do that with this, because I've never seen it before, Marianne. It's a way of fixing holes from behind. I don't know if your holes are too big, but we could see if we could fix them. It's like a way of darning behind.
I think maybe like, whoops. This is the large hole I was having a problem with. See this?
Yeah, no, that is pretty big.
Now that probably should have a patch.
I would think so. Where is that on the sweater?
It's actually right near, it's in the front near the sleeve.
Sometimes what I do, I mean, if you're worried about symmetry, like if you had a hole here and you put a patch there and you're worried about it looking funny, you could always do one on the other side, even if there's no hole, to make it look like part of the pattern. You know what I mean? Okay. Or if you have, if you put a patch on the cuff, do the same thing on the other cuff. So it kind of looks like it's, supposed to be there.
Okay.
If that makes sense. But I want you to.
No, I think that's good. This is, like I said, I can't seem to throw it out, even though I should.
We all have those sweaters.
Oh, anyway.
I feel like I have about 10 of those.
Oh my God.
it's
And I
hard to
wear,
get rid
I
of them.
still wear it around the house with all the holes in it, but anyway, it's just really, I should just get a new one, probably.
Let's see. We'll look. We'll watch that video and see if the whole repairing is pretty remarkable. Looks like something you want to try, and we could even try it tonight.
Okay,
Okay, and then
Okay.
come up with some other ideas. Nancy, did you have a specific issue with
Well,
your sweater?
Yeah, I have a lot of little holes. So
Okay.
maybe this will be good. Like, you know, like one little yarn got
All right, right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
undone somehow.
So is that the yarn there sticking out?
No,
Is that you?
I've
That's you.
got a
Okay.
needle and yarn because I'm
And
I
what are you
can't
doing
wait.
with it right now? What are you doing with it right now?
I'm just trying to pretend I'm knitting with it.
No, that's actually what a lot of sites recommend. Let's watch this little video because it's a way of darning from behind that I never knew about. That
Okay.
looks like it would help both Nancy and Marianne, perhaps with some of your smaller holes. And I can't see. Are there other people? I see there's a Doris and a Joyce. I don't know if you all are on. If you have sweaters. And Roxanne, did you bring one?
I just brought the hat. We talked about last week. It's
Oh,
a
right.
cashmere hat
That's
from
right.
Johnson, and I have little holes but I might do like a little soft color. I don't mind if it shows a little bit.
Wait, you do your little heart.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna do little hearts here and there because it's so comfortable, and I never knew about holes that could happen in a sweater until I got here to this island.
No, and now everybody has them. It's a universal problem. All right, so Janet, I'm going to try to share. What do I need to do to show you my? Do I need to share content?
Yeah, there should be a share content and give that a whirl.
I'm just going to do screen. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So then, sorry, there's going to be ads for 5 seconds.
Edit them out.
When school isn't a place you have to be, why not go to school where remote learning can be as remote as you want?
These are some plants I found.
Let me know if you can't
Here we have a
hear the
pine
volume
cone.
when it comes.
Hello and welcome to Professor Pincushion. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can mend a hole in your sweater. So you can take your sweater from this to this. Let's go ahead and get started. In addition to your sweater, you're also going to need some thread. I'm going to use all-purpose, and it's best if you actually match your thread to your sweater, but I'm just going to use a contrasting color so it's a little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing. Also, you're going to need a hand needle. It's best if you use a ballpoint needle just because it pushes through the fibers a little bit easier in a knit like that. So I'm going to take off some of my thread my needle. You're just going to create a tail like that, and then at the end of the thread, you're going to go ahead and tie a knot. So I'm wrapping it around my finger, and then with my thumb, rolling it off, pulling it, and there's my knot. Turn your sweater inside out, and this is the repair I'm going to be making right in this area right here. So I have my needle and thread, and I'm just going to grab a little bit of the fiber from the sweater, making sure that I don't take my needle all the way through to the front of the sweater because we're working on the inside and we want to make sure that our thread is not going to be showing on the right side. So you can see I just grab a few strands and I'm getting pretty close to this opening here, but you don't want to get so close that the fibers are broken and then your thread just goes right through them. So you just need to go a little ways away to where it seems like it's still fairly intact. So my knot's going to get stuck right there, and then I'm going to go on the opposite side of that, again just grabbing a few of those fibers and pulling it through. Now you just want to slightly pull a little bit. You don't want to pull really tight because then that's going to cause a little pucker on the right side. So now I'm going to do the opposite side. Grab a little bit of fibers on the opposite side of where my thread is coming out and just pull it a little bit, not too tight. These shouldn't be connecting yet. And now I'm going to do the opposite side. So your threads going across this area are going to stay flat and you're still going to be able to see them on the back side. You're just pulling very, very gently. And I feel like whenever I'm patching up a hole like this, I'm always working very gently so I don't make the damage worse. All right, so as soon as I get all the way to the top, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to look at my hole, which is right here. So you can still see that there's a little bit of a hole there. So if I want to go back through again, I can. So now I'm just going to do the same thing, but now I'm going to go down towards the bottom.
So if you've darned,
And
it's a
still
little bit
doing
like darning.
opposite side to opposite side. Once I've gone back and forth a few times, now I'm at the bottom of this damaged area. So I'm going to do a few stitches that are vertical to the hole because these ones were kind of horizontal. So now I'll do a couple vertical. So here it is at the bottom. I'm just going to go up, but I'm going to grab a few of my stitches as I'm going up. Just kind of weaving it through. And then grab a little bit of thread up here at the top. And again, you just kind of slightly pull it. So then I'm going to do the same thing, going back down, kind of weave through. And whenever you do a few of these stitches, always be checking on the right side of your sweater so you can kind of see how the progress is going and if you need to do more stitches. I finished doing my repair. It's right here. It's pretty obvious since I used a light color thread. I actually had another hole right here, and for this one I used a green thread, so it definitely blends in a lot better. It's not going to be as noticeable if you happen to see a few strands on the right side. Let's go ahead and flip this over to the right side so we can take a look, and it is right here. So it's not going to look perfect, but it looks a lot better than it did when there was a hole there. So you can definitely make it look better with a few stitches. If you have any requests on clothing repair videos.
All right. I think I stopped. So did people get how that it doesn't seem like it'll work, but I've tried it and it works. Would people like to give that a try either with their kit material on the sweater that they have? Would you guys like to give that a try?
Yeah, I'm gonna go get some thread.
Okay, perfect.
Did you say you did it, Colin, on one of your sweaters?
I
With
did.
the thread?
I did, and because I didn't believe it.
Oh.
It didn't look like it would work. But
Yeah.
I did it with the contrasting color, and when you turned it over, just like hers, you couldn't see it. I think with bigger holes, it's not going to be as great. But I think for the little moth holes, it's a nice solution. It is a little fiddly, you know, you do have to kind of play with it, but it is a bit like darning. And Emma had a question last week about needles, and I found this pack of needles.
Oh yeah.
And I find for darning or this kind of weaving, the long ones are great because then you can really see what you're doing and weave them in and then just pull the whole thing through. So
Wow,
if you want
that's
to
a
try,
nice pack.
it is nice. It's a really good one. Roxanne, do you have any gray thread for your gray hat, or do you want to try on the sample piece?
Yeah, maybe I'll try the sample piece because
You
I
can
gotta
just
go.
make a little hole
I
with
gotta go warm up my bus. But the kit is really great.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad it's useful. There should be a threaded needle in there already
Yeah,
too.
you got everything in here. So if we mend the hat or the sweater or whatever on the reverse side, if we really want to do something in the outside and perform a heart or do a little letter or something, then the back is already sealed and stitch and closed. So it might be easier to be creative on the front side because it's already taken care of.
Yeah,
Does that
no,
make sense?
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think with sweaters, it's probably smarter to do it that way. So you have stability, right? You don't have the
Yeah.
whole take. Yeah, exactly. I think it's a good idea. And then for sure, like it's double patched.
Right, your back is right. It's
Right.
mended and then you decorate in the front.
No, absolutely. And then if you don't get around to decorating in the front for a while, then your hole's covered at least, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna make a little hole in mine, just so then I have something to patch. If you want to like take the ends of scissors or a pen or something, just make a little hole.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Did you do it, Marianne? Oh, I see. I can't see you. Hold on.
Who
Can
we
you make
look
some
at?
noise? Marianne, can you make some noise?
She
Because
can do
whoever's
it.
talking is, I can't,
Oh, if you, here, I can spotlight her.
or I'll switch to gallery view. There we go.
There you go.
There
Oh,
you go.
wow.
Oh,
Put your finger where the hole was, Marianne. I can't see where. You're muted. I don't know if you want to be.
I really like doing it from the back side. Unmute myself. Okay.
Yeah, you're unmuted.
I really like doing it from the back side. You can't see it very well on this red in my light, but it really, I can't even see the hole anymore,
Oh,
wow.
good. That's the point.
Anyway, which is good.
That's awesome. And Roxanne, if you want to use the you're welcome to use that embroidery floss.
Yeah.
But if you want it to really hide, I would use the thread. The embroidery floss would be more for like darning, but it's up to you.
Oh,
Do you get what I'm saying? Because the
Yeah.
embroidery floss is more to show, like if you wanted to do it on the front.
yeah, I'll do the front, but I won't do it on my hat because
Yeah, just do it on
I want, yeah.
just practice.
I
So
don't
I'm
want to do yellow on my hat.
gonna- no. Nancy, how's yours going? Or did you just started? You just got your thread? Oh, I can't hear you, Nancy, if you're talking.
It's going good, but I'm slow.
Oh, no, that's part of the fun of this is we get to stitch and chat.
You guys, I've been completely.
Cody!
Guys, my internet was not working and I had my sweater, I've got everything, and so I made it. You don't know, but I've just been through the fire swamp.
Oh,
Wow.
I'm so
What a-
sorry.
It's such
You
a
know what?
scary feeling, huh?
It's scary. It's a frantic feeling.
You
So,
should go to the library and get help.
Oh,
so what we're doing, and I'm wondering if people have enough holes, Nancy, Marianne, and Roxanne, that was like the 2-minute video. If while you guys are doing your holes, if you'd mind if I replayed the video for Cody, because it's such
Yeah.
is that okay with you all?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
was-
perfect.
So Cody, if you have moth holes, which I'm assuming you do since you live on Nantucket and we all seem to, there's this really cool technique that I found on this little video. It's sort of darning from the back and it doesn't look like it should work, but Marianne's a believer now. She just did it and and I did it and I can't even see the hole. So do you have little moth holes in any of your sweaters?
well, I do. This one has, this is cashmere, very tightly woven.
Right, right, right.
And this is another, armpit hole.
Right.
And it will, the hole is small. It's hard to see with the light behind it,
Oh,
but,
no. It's really
but
cool.
this is probably the appropriate way to do it. It sounds like, right? With the,
What I'm talking about is do you see this like little holes like this?
yeah.
But I think it would be useful for you to see it, and we're going to talk about some other ways too. It's just a couple minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So why
Great.
don't we watch that while everyone's fixing, and then we can talk about some other ways.
And I have to go start up the bus warming up, so. But,
Okay.
okay. Well, I
We'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Happy busing.
Yeah.
Janet, I'm sharing my screen again. Is Janet there?
Yep,
Okay, so
You're
I just,
we got
okay.
it.
All right. I'm gonna skip the part, Cody, where she tells you how to thread the needle, because I think you know how to do that.
Okay.
Or do you want to see that?
No.
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
well, yeah. Yes, you better show it to me, Calin.
Okay.
Calin.
All right. So we'll start about that.
Let's go ahead and get started. In addition to your sweater, you're also going to need some thread. I'm going to use all-purpose, and it's best if you actually match your thread to your sweater, but I'm just going to use a contrasting color, so it's a little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing. Also, you're going to need a hand needle. It's best if you use a ballpoint needle, just because it pushes through the fibers a little bit easier in a knit like that. So I'm going to take off some of my thread my needle. You're just going to create a tail like that, and then at the end of the thread, you're going to go ahead and tie a knot. So I'm wrapping it around my finger, and then with my thumb, rolling it off, pulling it, and there's my knot. Turn your sweater inside out, and this is the repair I'm going to be making right in this area right here. So I have my needle and thread, and I'm just going to grab a little bit of the fiber from the sweater, making sure that I don't take my needle all the way through to the front of the sweater, because we're working on the inside, and we want to make sure that our thread is not going to be showing on the right side. So you can see I just grab a few strands, and I'm getting pretty close to this opening here, but you don't want to get so close that the fibers are broken and then your thread just goes right through them. So you just need to go a little ways away to where it seems like it's still fairly intact. So my knot's going to get stuck right there, and then I'm going to go on the opposite side of that. Again, just grabbing a few of those fibers and pulling it through. Now you just want to slightly pull a little bit. You don't want to pull really tight, because then that's going to cause a little pucker on the right side. So now I'm going to do the opposite side. Grab a little bit of fibers on the opposite side of where my thread is coming out, and just pull it a little bit, not too tight.
Cody, you'll
You
see it's a
shouldn't be
little bit like,
connecting
it ends up
yet.
being a little bit like darning.
And now I'm going to do the opposite
Yeah.
side. So your threads going across this area are going to stay flat, and you're still going to be able to see them on the back side. You're just pulling very, very gently. And I feel like whenever I'm patching up a hole like this, I'm always working very gently so I don't make the damage worse. All right, so as soon as I get all the way to the top, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to look at my hole, which is right here. So you can still see that there's a little bit of a hole there. So if I want to go back through again, I can. So now I'm just going to do the same thing, but now I'm going to go down towards the bottom and still doing opposite side to opposite side. Once I've gone back and forth a few times, now I'm at the bottom of this damaged area. So I'm going to do a few stitches that are vertical to the hole, because these ones were kind of horizontal. So now I'll do a couple vertical. So here it is at the bottom. I'm just going to go up, but I'm going to grab a few of my stitches as I'm going up. Just kind of weaving it through. And then grab a little bit of thread up here at the top. And again, you just kind of slightly pull it. So then I'm going to do the same thing, going back down, kind of weave through.
See how it's kind of like the darning we did last week?
And whenever you do a few of these
But it's on the
stitches,
back and it's not
always
meant
be
to
checking
show. And then
on
when she
the
shows you,
right
it's
side
amazing how you
of your
can't even see it.
sweater. So you can kind of see how the progress is going and if you need to do more stitches. I finished doing my repair. It's right here. It's pretty obvious since I used a light color thread. I actually had another hole right here, and for this one I used a green thread, so it definitely blends in a lot better. It's not going to be as noticeable if you happen to
Isn't
see
it
a few
amazing? But that's
strands
the
on
back
the right
side.
side. Let's go ahead and flip this over to the right side,
Right?
so
Look,
we
you
can
can't
take
even
a look,
see it.
and it is
Wow.
right here. So it's not going to look perfect, but it looks a lot better than it did when there was a hole there. So you can definitely make it look better with a few stitches. If you have any requests on clothing,
That is really cool. You know what I notice is she starts very different from the darning, is that she starts quite close to the hole.
Yeah. And she also, so I kind of tried it, but I have really thin sweater and ham hands. So I think it's really important to just do a few threads. I think when you get, you know, with darning, I don't think it matters as much, but see, she was just picking up a few little threads. I think that's key, especially if you have a lighter sweater rather than a bulky sweater. I think with a bulky sweater, you can get away with a lot more because, you know, it just doesn't show.
Right.
I have this thin sweater and it kind of, my hole's not great because I cinched it too tight, but at least that's an example of what not to do.
Right. But
You're not
still,
you're just sort of creating a weave over it, right?
right. That's the other thing that was similar to the darning, is not cinching.
Right, exactly. Very similar. What is your, can we see your armhole again? That makes sense. That wears away because you would be.
I'll show you. I think this way might work. Okay, so here's the sweater and the sleeve, right? And then under the armpit, and I'm going to put my finger in it so that you can kind of see the size.
Right.
So it's about the,
oh yeah,
you know, that's just my finger there. So it's not so big, really.
right. So do you have any like t-shirt material or sweater material in that color?
No. T-shirt.
Would be stretchy.
I might have, if I go rummage around, I probably have an old T-shirt.
Or even an old sock that is worn out. Something stretchy, because you could even do, because it's the armpit, it's nice, it's not going to show as much, right? You could put it under the hole and kind of do what we talked about last time, sewing on top of the hole, you know, to secure it.
Yes.
Or on top of the patch, you know, to secure it. Because that's big enough that I think that this technique
it would get lost. It's a little too much of a hole.
Right, too much surface space. Right, but I would almost.
So I would use like the sock or something for a patch on the inside.
You could do it either way. I think inside would be better if you don't want it to show, but you've got like, this is weird, but you've got your hole right here, right? And so then a patch, a piece bigger than this, put it underneath, and then you can sew by hand, sew all around it with a dark colored thread. Like we were doing last time, even those little X's, you know, if it's a dark thread, it won't show.
Right.
But secure it that way. And then you could trim the excess off on the inside.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes great sense. I'm gonna go see what I can find.
I mean,
I
you could
have a
even do
lot
like,
of mismatched socks.
oh, perfect. You could do patches if you wanted to be, you know, it could be a fun like surprise patch under your arm, but if you don't want to,
Well, here's the catch, okay? It isn't my sweater.
oh, I see. All right. We need to.
It's a whole different ballgame this way. But I wanted to share with all of you that I think for me, a butternut squash works very well as a darning aid.
Oh, no. How wonderful. That is awesome. And then you can eat it when you're done.
Exactly. And will last all winter, keeps very well.
It's a good shape, right? You could use either end depending on your need, right? Oh, I love it. That's awesome. I'll have to.
All right, I'm gonna go see what I can find for material.
All righty. Marianne and Nancy, how are you all doing?
I'm doing good. I went
just-
around and kind of marked a bunch of holes.
Oh, good for you.
The more I look, I find a lot and then they disappear, so.
I know, I
You
just
got a
keep
nice chunk.
finding more too.
And some of them I'm using yarn and some I'm using the thread. This is,
Oh, no.
it's a weird knit. My very first one I did with thread, the thread worked its way to the front. But it's still an improvement.
Oh, good, good. Awesome.
This yarn is, it's like hand spun and it goes thin to thick. So in the thin spots, it's worn off, worn and broken.
The yarn in the sweater?
Yeah.
Oh, I see, I see. It looks like a beautiful sweater.
Yeah, it's like sentimental value. You know, it's ancient.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I got it in college. And made in Uruguay.
Oh, look at that. Oh, it's probably alpaca or something.
Well,
Oh.
it does 100% virgin wool.
Oh, wool, nice.
So yeah, that's why the moths like it.
Yes. Yeah, they don't seem to chew up the cheaper polyester sweaters, do they? They could go right for your good stuff.
Yeah.
Marianne, how's yours going?
I'm really excited about this technique.
Oh, good. I know, isn't it cool? I love it.
I like
Never-
the fact that you really can't see where you fix the hole.
Well, you have the perfect sweater for it too. I think it's better on the
Yeah.
funky.
Call from area 124.
Joyce, are you with us? I see your square.
Yes. Oh,
How are you? Oh, you just turned yourself off.
sorry. Right. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm sewing away here on a dark green cashmere sweater.
Excellent.
Using the technique, but there's about 6 holes in it. So I've done 3.
And are you having, when you turn it over to the front, are you having any luck? Is it
Yes. Yes.
Excellent.
Very
Excellent.
much. Very much.
great?
Yeah, it's a huge improvement on the glaring holes. They're different sizes, of course, the holes, but it's worked. It's working.
Oh,
working.
excellent. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Oh.
What's the kit people are talking about? Is there some mending kit?
Yeah, are you on the island? Are you in Nantucket?
I am. Yes.
Oh, excellent. So there'll be 4 more of these classes, and the Monday before each class, for most of the classes. One of the classes I don't have a kit for, but next week we're doing buttons for people who haven't, put on buttons before, just want a refresher.
Uh-huh.
And there'll be kits for those. It's just thread and needle and then some sweater material.
Oh,
And then
lovely.
some graphics that I made. We'll talk about also if people want to, once the sweater's completely gone, you know, what to do with it, how you can upcycle it. So there was some information on that too.
Great, great. And where do you pick the kit up from?
From the library, just outside the library.
Okay, so I should go next Monday?
In 2 Mondays, because of the, it's
Okay.
every other, let me see, I can tell you exactly when. I'm so glad that you're joining us.
Yeah, I have been thinking, I mean, there's probably about 5 or 6 sweaters here that need work. So this was an opportune moment to tackle them.
I think it was a very, very well timed.
Yes, yes.
Just the workshop. So there's another one on the 3rd of March. That's the button one.
Okay, let me write that on here. Hang on. 3rd of March. 3rd of March. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And should
That'll
I
be-
sign up earlier than the Monday for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really unlimited, right? Because it's Zoom. So sign
Yep.
up whenever works for you.
Great. Okay, will do. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for
Thank
joining.
you. Yeah, thank you for holding these things.
Oh, they're great fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And those of you who were on last week, Emma, who was on, said she was sorry she couldn't make it, but she'll be on again. So just wanted to pass that along. Nancy, did you want to show us something?
oh no, I was gonna say, so is the upcycling like the Bernie Sanders mittens?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think of that reference. That's perfect. Yes. I also think it's like, what was Kamala Harris's stepdaughter? I think her suit was also upcycled, but I could be wrong on that. But yes, his mittens were upcycled from sweater.
Most famous mittens.
Right?
I believe they sold out.
You know, I've seen those a lot. For some reason, when I go to Vermont and Maine, those are really popular. Those mittens from sweaters.
Makes sense, yeah.
I like to make, and I've got some pictures. I have a slideshow I can show you guys. Maybe we can do it while we're sewing. But I make fingerless gloves out of sweaters, and those are really, they make really good gifts, and they're so easy. They're so simple.
Is that gonna be on a class?
Well, I can send you the little worksheet that I made, and you can have it, because this was included in the kit for people. It's a little graphic like this.
Okay.
All right.
And I can kind of explain it now. It's so
Calin, I can send them anything you want if you want to send me the link and the attachments.
okay, excellent. I'll send the fingerless glove paper. This was in the kit, but Nancy's on Martha's Vineyard.
Yep,
So
I'm good at making my own kit though.
Yeah.
I mean, I need the pattern, but I've got all the other stuff.
Oh yeah, it's so easy. All you do, Nancy, is you turn the sleeve inside out. You take the sleeve from a sweater
Yeah.
and you turn it. I haven't made a video on this yet. You just fold it over so it's doubled.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right, so there's my doubled sleeve, right? We're almost there. And the cuff right here is down at the bottom. And then this one's too big. I would have to take it in a little bit, but really all I do is then I turn this inside out and I sew a little triangle right here. And I cut
Slick.
the cuff, and then I have, where are mine? I don't have mine. I can go run and get mine. But then it's just this nice finished fingerless glove. And the fold is right here, and you have a nice little cuff at the bottom.
oh, nice.
They're so nice and they're so easy,
Yeah.
right? I would turn it inside out and make the little notch there and then snip it. I even have a thumb, which is nice on fingerless gloves. I'll go get mine, the one I made, so you can see.
Now this threading a needle thing, this is the challenge of it all.
So that was helpful when she showed how to do. So these are the gloves I made from a sweater. You can see the bottom of the sweater, and then I just.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Right? So easy. I was doing all sorts of things, attaching a thumb, trying to figure out, make it complicated, but it couldn't be simpler. And I can show you the inside out.
So where the
See?
cuff meets, oh yeah, and where the cuff meets, where you folded it back, do you attach those two together?
Well, what I did is I sewed them together on the inside. I cut the inner one a little shorter because I don't really mind. I mean, you could clean it up, I'm sure, but so I cut it a little shorter than this one, and then I sewed along the seams so that you're not like trying to stick your hand through and getting it caught, and that's enough. Right, sewed along here, and then you turn it right side out, and you've got it. And the nice thing is too, I'll send you the other link for a hat. You can use then the body of the sweater after you've taken the arms, and you can make a stocking cap. And then have matching cap and gloves.
Did you sew them the seams on a machine or by hand?
Oh, on the machine.
Yeah.
I'm hopeless by hand.
I'm
really not good by hand.
I have to get my machine here.
You know, I didn't do that this time, but I would like to at some point do a basic sewing, getting the machine out, because that seems to be the biggest stumbling block.
Yes.
Just take it out again. Joyce, are you a sewer? Have you used your sewing machine before, or are you new to it?
Yes, very long time ago. I actually made a whole load of curtains, which kind of shocks me now because I've no idea how I did it. probably about, oh gosh, over 10 years ago. So I definitely did know how to use the machine at one point, but I haven't used it for at least 10 years. So threading it would probably be fun. I have a vague recollection of that.
Slightly different, right? To thread. Every machine is just like,
yeah, getting it on the left hand side or the right of at the end of the foot. The foot is the fun part, isn't it? At the very end. Yeah.
Well, I'm finding it's harder and harder for me as my eyes get worse and worse. The threading the needle.
I have to up the readers. Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, and they make little needle threaders.
I have one right now. I can't remember. So do you put the threader through the needle first?
Yep.
Okay.
You put it through the hole, the eye. And then remember, you had a good point, Cody, not to put too much of a tail on it. You put the thread in the threader, remember?
Yeah, just that little bit of tail she had. That was good news. But did you see, I mean, what a show off. Did you just see how she just took the thread and put it right through the eye of that needle? Now, come on.
How many takes do you think that took, though? It's a video. She could have edited that.
She may be 30 years old as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Her nail polish said 30 years old to me.
No, it's definitely not me doing that video with that nail polish.
Yeah.
Her nail polish was a clue. That was a clue. So now this tail, it does not, oh, you can't see that, but the tail does not get knotted, correct? Just the end of the thread.
Have you already threaded your needle or your?
Yeah, the needle, well, wait, no, I'm not finished with that.
Because Cody, I don't trust myself. I always do. I'll show you what I do. Some people have a tail, but I never have one. So what I do is I see how I've got two?
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
I just do two all the way down.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And I tie a knot at the bottom because otherwise it's out of the needle.
All right. I like that.
Yeah, it's just, otherwise you're fiddling with the rethreading all the time. I want to show you all a video that I made. That's another way to repurpose a sweater in case you have some that are completely beyond repair. It's just a couple minutes. And this is if you ever wear boots and you like or know someone who does, to have the socks sticking out of the top.
Oh, yeah.
This is kind of a fun thing that you can do.
Oh.
So it's a little goofy, but oh, whoops, hold on. I got to share my screen, don't I? All right. All right, start broadcast. All right, so you can see my screen now? Yes?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so, all right.
Oh.
Hey there, it's Calin Duke from Alter Eco Clothing. I've changed my look recently. Notice anything different? That's right. I'm wearing my new over-the-knee boot socks. I'm going to show you how you can make a pair yourself. You'll need a pair of mid-length warm socks, and you'll need the sleeves of a sweater. Ideally one that's totally unsalvageable otherwise, or you're using the rest of it for another project. If the sleeves are not straight or they're very large, turn them inside out and sew them straight so that you have a tube. Keeping the sweater sleeve inside out, put the sock inside of it. With the raw edges of the sweater against the edge of the sock, pin them together, right sides to right sides, and sew along the edge.
And then I didn't say that you would then pull them,
This is a great
right side
time
out.
to use a feature on your sewing machine made for sleeves.
Ooh.
Turn your over-the-knee boot socks right side out, put them in your favorite boots, and rock out with your socks out.
Good pink
Well, I
hair.
hope you enjoyed another how-to video. And as always, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and be good to the planet.
So that one's a super easy project. That one's super easy, really just as quick as cutting off the sleeves, sewing them to socks, and then, they start wherever your socks start, so you wouldn't want to wear them with low boots, but for high boots, they look really nice sticking out of the top.
Cute.
So if you're cuffing,
Your knitted earrings look good too.
oh, thank you. Cody, did you got your needle threaded?
Oh, yes, that's as far as and I do have my patch.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Do you have pins?
Oh, yes, I do. Mhm.
Or
In
something,
my
I don't know.
sewing kit.
Something that I find super handy with patches so I don't poke myself. Do you know about basting, Cody?
You mean like as in the turkey?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about in the sewing class. We're going to take a 180-degree turn, and now we're going to talk about turkey basting. No, no, but sewing basting is actually really handy, especially when you have something small and fiddly. You could use if you picked up a kit, you could use that yellow, the embroidery thread, or if you have a contrasting thread. And what you do is after you pin that stitch, remember we talked about pinning it under that scrap. We talked about pinning it under the hole.
Yeah.
And you just sew big, they don't have to be beautiful, but big stitches.
To hold it in place.
Yeah, and I find my mother used to tell me that all the time as a kid to baste, and I would fight her and fight her and fight her until I figured it out myself, and she was right. It saves you so much time, especially if you have something that you want to hold in place.
All right.
Do that, and then you can go back and sew around the edge, and it's already pretty secure.
Okay.
So that might.
That's I'm going to do that.
Mama Duke would.
You know, she said a ballpoint needle. What does that mean?
I think, I'm not positive, but I think it's more rounded rather than a sharp. Because you're doing a sweater, you're not having to like sew through silk or something more tightly woven.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see if I found this. I don't think you were here when I showed this. Remember, Emma was asking last time about different kinds of needles.
Oh, yes.
So I think ballpoint is more, and if anyone else knows more about needles than I do, please pipe up. But
Yeah,
I think,
you use them with knits.
right, I think you're correct. So it's more this, you can't really tell. Right, and they're not as, there's other ones called sharps, which are actually just what they sound like. So here's two, Cody, I don't know if you can tell the difference. This one right here is
I
ballpoint.
can, yes.
Sharp. So the ballpoint's a thicker needle and not quite as sharp. I don't know if this.
Right. Maybe I have something like that. I have assorted needles in this handy dandy.
I was in your little needle organizer. You know what? This one, it came closer to doing what I wanted it to do, but it still didn't. It said on the back what all the different needles were for, but it didn't have it organized on here.
Oh, right.
Like it lists what all the great things they can do. There's embroidery, tapestry, sharps, darners, but it didn't correspond it to the needles. So I'm finding the long ones are nice for darning. And little sharps are good for, you know, hand sewing, but still, I'm not a needle expert for sure.
You know, I have a dream and the material to sew ripstop nylon. And what the project is I have a sailboat that's kind of like a sunfish, a little more boat-like, but that size. And so the mast and the sail and the boom all collapse into one long rod, which lays on the bedroom floor. And the reason is that I don't want to put it, like say in the basement or somewhere where it's just going to get really dirty over the winter time. And so I want to make out of ripstop nylon because it was on sale at Joann Fabrics and it's lightweight and durable, a sack. And so I started to read about sewing ripstop nylon, and it was for someone with sewing knowledge, which we know I do not have.
Well, which you are building. Let's
Correct.
Half full.
Which we know that exactly I am upon which I am embarking. So
Sewing around the world journey. Well, I am happy to help you with that. And if I ever get it out of storage, I actually have a Sailrite sewing machine. It's an industrial machine. You can sew ripstop on your regular sewing machine.
Well, the advice I got from looking at YouTube videos was about there were two pieces of advice. One was to have a certain kind of foot, which I don't remember. The other was to sew, maybe it was called a French seam, but a seam, and then turn it
Yep,
over.
That's exactly right. Yep. So that's because ripstop is so, it frays, right? It frays
Right.
so, and the French seam, that's exactly what you said. You sew it the wrong sides together, and then you trim your seam allowance, not too close, but you trim it so it's straight, and then you sew it back again with the right sides together. And you do that a lot on fabrics at fray to keep them, all those little raw threads from hanging out. And also
Right.
sometimes you see like really nicely tailored clothing. They do it just because it has a nice finished look,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
But it's
And
something,
then when that was turned over, I can't remember if it was step one, when you just sew it together, or once it's turned over, it was a zigzag that was not, that was kind of a smallish zigzag stitch.
wow, that seems, if it's just for a bag, that seems a little
Yeah.
overkill.
Yeah,
But I mean,
I have to say, I was inspired by our sewing class last year, whenever it was. I was like, oh, I'll just make one of those drawstring bags.
no, that's exactly, it's the same principle. That's exactly what you can do, only make it longer, you know, than the
Yeah.
ones we made. That's exactly what it would be. And you'd have to sort of engineer, figure out how to do the seam, but I'm pretty sure you just sew the L, you know, you like get a big wide piece, fold it in half, sew the L, and then sew it again, right sides to right sides. I think sometimes it doesn't work because of the physics of it, but I think that would work. And then, yeah, we can play with it. If you want help on it, I would be happy.
Yeah,
because
oh, I'd love
Grins
it. I'd
for
love
it.
it.
so easy, and then you just make a casing around the top and you're
There
good.
are two of them, I have to say, and they're about 11 or 12 feet long.
Ooh, oh, nice.
So they're long.
And you have enough fabric for them?
I think so. That was, my first challenge. I thought, now let's see. So if it's this wide and then I double it and then, and I had the fabric on the floor, which that caused trouble with the personnel in the store. Because it had 1 foot tiles on the floor.
Oh, right, just like at the hardware store, right? It's like, yeah, a little different at the fabric store. I've worked several times at fabric stores in my lifetime, and people would come in because it's such a stress on your brain to like go from this 3D thing you want to like this two-dimensional fabric, and they'd come in and they'd say, I need to cover a couch. How much fabric do I need?
Yeah.
15 yards.
Like, I'm not a magician. I don't know, but it's hard to figure out. But if you need fabric, I just happened upon some. I'm going to bring it over there. I think it's outdoor, like awning fabric. You can't really see, but
It's sort of stiff.
Yeah, but it has like this waterproof quality.
Oh, wow.
I've got this whole ream of it.
Wow.
So this would do, because it
Yeah,
doesn't need
that'd
to,
be really good.
it doesn't need to,
Handling the ripstop nylon, I began to wonder, is it really a sturdy fabric, which I thought of because stuffed sacks and camping gear are made, and I thought, well, it must be really strong. But I'm not sure, because I don't know, it seems very lightweight, and then when I was doing my YouTube research, there are different weights and qualities of it.
yeah, there are, and there's ripstop, and then there's like banner stop, and there's a bunch of different types of that material for different uses. So it really matters, depends on what you get.
Are you ever coming back, do you think?
I am. I'm coming back tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
I'm excited, but it's hard to go from. I've been quarantining with my boyfriend in Provincetown, and we've got our 2 dogs and him and I, and that's cozy. And I'm going to go back to just me. So.
Oh, that's going to be a transition.
But I'm excited to get back to the island for sure. I miss my little house.
I bet P-Town is pretty quiet too, isn't it?
It is, but every once in a while, you know, it's Provincetown, so every once in a while there'll be some crazy parade, like when Biden won, everyone went down our street, the dogs went crazy, we were trying to figure out what it was, we looked out, there's people banging drums and screaming on a little makeshift parade, and we had a bunch of people here for Valentine's weekend.
Oh, yeah.
But it is
That's
overall
excellent.
much quieter than the summer.
Have you gone in the car and you know, just taken a drive anywhere you want, anytime you want, kind of thing?
just because you can.
Just because you can, yeah.
So, how you know you've been living on an island when that seems so luxurious? We do every once in a while. I do kind of marvel at, like, wow, we could just get in the car and go.
Keep going, yeah.
I have another little slideshow if people, I don't know if these are useful, with some other ideas.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
put it up
sure.
like- And this is more, I was thinking, like, if you had a sweater and it was completely done, or it had a hole so big you didn't know what to do with it, or if you're like me, you collect them because you love the way cashmere feels and you have, you know, 13 of them and you want to do something with them. So I will share my screen again. And this is, like I said, it's just a slideshow, so I'll kind of talk you through it. All right, so. Okay, so this is slide number 9. Let me go backwards. Okay, so this is a sweatshirt that I made from a bunch of sweatshirts, but the cool thing about it is it's lined with a sweater. So that's something you can use your sweaters for too if they're falling apart. You want to make it super, you know, super cozy. Yeah. I love wearing sweatshirts, but in the winter they're just not, you know, that warm. You could line a sweatshirt with it. You could line another sweater. They're good for liners. We don't often think of them for that, but that's a good use because the colors don't matter, right? You could do with the arm one color and then, you know, the bodice another color. But if it's inside, you can't even tell. This is 2 sweaters I sewed together. You can kind of tell there's a more sweatshirty one underneath, like on my chest and my wrist. And I sewed it over this really low drooping sweater. It was way too low for me. It was to be worn over t-shirt, I think. And I sewed the 2 together. So that's kind of a fun thing to do. And there's some more examples of sewing sweaters together here. This is a friend of mine. The sweater that we had was kind of a mess and he had this old suit jacket. We just hacked off the cuffs and then I used the bodice to make a hood. So I like adding hoods to sweaters or making hoods out of sweaters because then they're so cozy.
That's cool.
And then this is a sweatshirt. I found it online, but I love the idea of, you know, if you have multiple sweaters lying around, stitching them together, cutting the sleeves off one and putting them on another. Same thing with this, you know, it's a sweatshirt again, but you could, you know, why couldn't you just cut 2 in half and sew them together if you like the look? This is similar, right? 2 different colors and then a patch. Iron on. There's the heart. There's our heart again. But just, you know, something kind of make it a little bit different. And then this, I absolutely love. This is a guy named Zero Waste Daniel. His whole thing is gets scraps from textile houses. And he turns them into art. He has zero waste in his company. And this is a David Bowie sweatshirt. But if you were artistic, why couldn't you do that, you know, with sweater material or do sweatshirt material onto your sweater? Because it doesn't fray, you know. You can do something easier like a rainbow or a heart too. But I just thought that was kind of fun for inspiration. And these are the gloves that you saw that I had on. You can turn your sleeves into fingerless gloves. And then this is a hat that I made. And I lined it with, it's 2 sweaters you can see, right? There's a gray one and also a black one. and I lined it, and the black brim flips up, or I can wear it down.
Hmm.
So there's all, there's all sorts of things you can do once your sweater's defunct, or if you have a bunch of extra ones that you're trying to figure out what to do with.
This is, I'm sure you've used this before, but this brings meaning to fashion is trash. Brings a positive slant to it.
I miss the take it or leave it so much.
Oh, me too. That's my entire life.
Nancy, is there something like that on Martha's Vineyard? Do you have a
We have a dump teak.
everything? I love it.
It's at the dump, but everything there is free.
Oh,
And it's run by volunteers, so of course it's closed in the pandemic. But we have 2 thrift stores.
oh, nice.
So, and the thrift store's open. It's kind of a community place. Like it doubles as a warming center, informal.
Oh, nice. Thrift stores are great. It's funny though, you get really spoiled when you have a dump teak or take it or leave it, don't you? When you actually have to pay money for things. Everything seems outrageously priced.
Well, at the thrift store, they have a lot of sales, like a bag for $5 or.
Oh, that's the best. Oh, that's awesome. How's everybody's sweatering going?
Good.
I'm basting.
Oh, awesome. Marianne, how's that orange sweater?
I'm zooming along here.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you did.
I'm so excited about my holes here.
Or your former holes.
The former
This has
holes.
been in my mending pile for like 2 years, so it's getting done now.
Oh, good. Oh, that makes me very happy.
I think what I'm so amazed at, I can wear this sweater and no one's ever going to know that it was full of holes, just the way that technique is amazing. I'll have to use a patch on the bigger one, but the little ones are really whipping up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because I've got a whole bunch of, you can't see them. Anyway, but I have a whole bunch of tiny little moth holes that are really just become invisible.
Oh, good. Oh, that's excellent.
Only a second.
And Joyce, how's yours going?
I'm great. I'm on my second sweater.
Oh, excellent.
Wow.
Yeah, I finished a green one and now I'm on a gray one, but there's a lot of holes in this one. There's about another, there's another 4 holes in this gray one. But it's going well. It's going well.
Good. They should have asked everyone to bring tea as we stitch and chat.
I'm just so grateful for everybody to coming because I wouldn't do it otherwise.
Yeah, that's what I wouldn't. So this is one I did a while ago. It was one of my favorite sweaters. And, when you talked about under the arm, orange is my favorite color. So I fixed orange.
Oh, that looks
Oh,
great.
yeah.
And then you know how the bottom runs out. So I crocheted the bottom.
Oh.
You did some visible mending.
Yeah, very visible. Then I did one elbow and I don't know how I did it, but it kind of took on a life of its own and turned into like this mushroom. But
So awesome. And does
because
it,
it's not a wool sweater and it's washable. And then I used wool. So the wool to repair it got felted.
Oh.
right.
You know,
And does it fit on your elbow when you wear it?
Yeah, it just kind of has a little wart on my elbow.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
is awesome.
But this
You know,
is
Oh, go ahead.
the Karen Tate sweater. She was a sweater designer on the Vineyard. And she would have the yarns specially spun for her with great colors.
Wow.
And they were washable. They're great sweaters.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, this is a 70% cotton, 13% wool, 11% cotton, acrylic, and 5% silk. I don't know, I've been throwing it in the washer.
Wow. You
So-
haven't thrown it in the washer, you said?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay, awesome. My sweaters are fine in the wash, in the cold, but I try not to dry them. Did you dry that one, Nancy? Or do you just block it out?
I probably dried it too, because I think, she made them to be that way.
Right. Maybe it's pre-shrunk. That's amazing.
Well, let me see. Oh, yeah, machine wash, cool, tumble dry, low.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she had them worked up in Fall River. She had a
Okay.
factory over there. Made in the
I just
US.
recently found out in Massachusetts that because I have my transplant here, that there was just outside of Lowell, I think, a textile museum.
Yes.
Yeah, it's still there.
Oh,
Well, yeah,
It's still running? Because I read that it's closed, not just for COVID, but like it closed completely.
Maybe that sounds right.
But that
When
just-
did it close?
What's that?
Did it say when it closed?
It was before I think it was before the pandemic. I think it was like 2019, 2018, because I was so excited about it. I was already planning a trip there. And then it said it was closed, and I figured that was for the pandemic. I did some research, and they did, serious soul searching and decided to close it down. It was unfortunate. So what exciting things am I missing on the island? Anything?
The only thing I know about on the island, I've stopped looking even at the COVID statistics every day. I stopped reading the paper. I do this every winter. I get fed up with the gossip nature of it. Even if it isn't gossip, it's just too much that everyone knows the same information. So I'm a terrible person to ask. All I know about is the library. And I have to say that all week I've been thinking, oh, this is good. I can get a sewing kit because, I work there. And I completely forgot it. So I was there all day, and then I thought, oh, unbelievably, I forgot my sewing kit. But I will say that one thing that's been happening on the island is that finally it snowed, you've probably heard, and then it turned to treacherous ice.
Oh, that's the worst.
Thick ice, and I think it got, to 18 degrees or something like that. And then for me, on Cody's planet, one of the most exciting things is that they have been ice sailing on Hummock Pond.
Oh, wow.
And I love to watch it, but it seems so dangerous, although I've never seen them go over.
Well, it also seems dangerous and these are my California roots talking. I say this when I see people ice skating on a pond, but it seems like it would be dangerous in that, like, if you sailed over a thinner area of ice, right? Wouldn't the weight of
but I think it, I'm not sure that would actually turn the boat over. If if the pontoons, because they have these pontoons that are runners,
Oh,
and those might, and it does still have, well, some of them have a little bit of a hull that would float in water,
see.
but
Okay.
some have slings like a catamaran, like a Hobie cat or something.
Oh, right, right, right.
What I worry about is if they turn over, you know how you can heel over, and if it goes past that tipping point, then you're hitting the ice
Oh.
at a tremendous speed
Wow.
and
Ooh.
skidding, of course, skidding, and then possibly with equipment stuck on you some way, you know.
Gosh.
So,
Yeah.
but I've never seen that, and I for a couple of years, I haven't been able to see it. It's just totally a solo little thing that I do, to go out to Hummock Pond and see if anytime I think that there's ice, I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're ice sailing, because I just adore watching it.
Oh, it sounds
So-
like it's very beautiful.
It is. And it's quiet. Of course, it's silent with so much speed, like gliders, sailboats. It's quite beautiful. And the ice then has finally melted in probably the weather's quite similar in P-Town.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's almost
Maybe even
identical
on
weather. Yeah.
Yeah, so these warm days, it's now melted. And then I've heard that there's a storm tonight,
Yeah.
snowstorm. So, hey, look, my basted,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
the
see it.
light is no good here. It's, I mean, not for the camera. It's good for my sewing.
You know what
But
else I'm thinking? Oh, nice. Exactly. That's exactly basic. Oh, you can't even see it. Is that the right side you're showing me?
yeah, this
Oh,
is the right side.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't even think you're gonna be able to see it.
Yeah, I don't either. That sock was a good match. Who
Nice.
knew? Right now I have my butternut squash.
Uh,
Oh, I love it.
This is the most exciting possible project.
And Cody, another thing I was thinking too with armholes, like my sweater that I have on right now is quite fitted, so this wouldn't be a good candidate. But if that happened, you had a hole in the armpit with a bigger one, you also could take it in. You could also kind of, so, what I'm saying, like make the arm a little smaller if you had some leeway.
I'd have to do that with adult supervision because I think I would pucker. The danger of puckering sounds, like I say, I would need adult supervision.
All right.
Okay.
The snow was so good here last week, we could cross-country ski.
Oh,
And
was it deep? What was the depth?
well, like 3 inches.
Oh,
But
wow.
and there were perfect conditions on our south shore, so you could ski along the beach. And I skied all the way to Chappaquiddick, and then I could see Nantucket.
Oh, right, because Chappaquiddick's over on the east, isn't it?
Yeah. So can
Okay.
you guys ever go way west and see Martha's Vineyard?
What would be way west, like Cisco or something, maybe?
Yeah, Matica. We can see it. We can see those fireworks at 4th of July.
Ah, yeah, those are Oak Bluffs, or maybe there's some in Edgartown. I don't know.
Is it? Oh, okay. But they're miniature. They're cute as a button because they look like ant fireworks, but they're perfectly formed.
Oh,
They weren't like the end of the world inaugural fireworks.
Wow, those fireworks. Those were really something.
They really were. They were almost a little too much.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if we could be too much.
Oh,
for
no, no, no,
what
I
we've
don't
been
think, I don't
through.
think that way. I just like they remind me. I always think like if you had been in a war and you saw all those fireworks lighting up the sky, if it would be traumatic, you know, it just seems because they're so loud and the sky turns red and, you know, like.
Yeah.
Hey, is Biden gonna go to Nantucket for Thanksgiving next year?
I wonder. I mean, it would be, I guess it would be the first time in 35 years or something that he hasn't. But I have been wondering exactly that same thing, thinking, oh my gosh, we'll just be a
overrun.
Yeah, we'll be a complete security zone.
Oh,
Did he come last year? I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either.
No.
Not for pandemic. Remember, he was in his basement.
Yes.
But he has to come and, you know, do his Athenaeum swim.
The turkey plunge, right.
Does he do the turkey plunge? No, he doesn't normally do that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he
Does he
does.
really?
Yes, he does the turkey plunge.
Oh my God.
His Secret Service guys have to go in too.
I bet they're loving that detail.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Risk my life, that's one thing. Going in this water.
Exactly. Like I'll take a bullet before I'll get the ocean in November.
Wow, this is coming out so, if it will stay, this black on black sewing is,
Oh.
Is it good because it's hiding it, or are you frustrated because you can't
oh,
see
it's beautiful, but it's hard to, it's beautiful from the perspective of, you're not going to notice that it's patched.
Right.
But it's hard to, trying to go like 3 or 4 rows in on the weave.
Oh, I see. It's hard to see.
And I'm just like, where's the edge?
That is one of the many great tips that my mother passed down to me. When you have matching thread, it really disguises, especially when you're, like sewing from a pattern or finishing a hem or something. It really disguises any mistakes you make. The matching is so crucial.
It's beautiful. I'm impressed. Calin, what do you remember as your first big, exciting, I did it sewing project?
Oh, what a sweet question. I remember, so I came of age in the 80s, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. My mom got us, we sewed from patterns. And we would go to the fabric store and get the material and sew from patterns. And I can still do that. It's just not my favorite thing to do. But my sister and I begged her for this pattern that had a button-up shirt with a collar, a short sleeve, with matching shorts that were flared, like they were like sort of baggy drawstring shorts, and I found mint green fabric with flamingos and sailboats all over it.
Oh.
And I made a matching mint green button-up top and drawstring shorts, and I wore it so much. I remember so proud when people would say, "Where'd you get that?" I made it.
Oh, wow. How old were you?
That would have been in middle school, probably. I mean, I know I made other things like aprons and pillows and all those things you make when you're learning to sew before that, but that was the first like from fabric to finished product that I would actually wear.
And were you in California?
Yeah, that's where I grew up.
Yeah, hence the green and the flamingos. And I mean, totally. Style. Completely there, you know. It's like, oh yeah. I grew up in Daytona Beach, Florida, so I understand.
So you get that good vibe. Have you sewed anything from our sewing classes since then, Cody? Anything that you're
No,
no,
not at all. That's what I say. I'm just so grateful to that, you know, all of you are here, because tonight, for instance, I would be doing other kinds of projects. Like my basement has been dark for quite a while, and because the tube lighting has burned out one at a time over a period of about 1.5 years. And so just today, my whole new case of tube lights.
Oh wow.
So I would be doing that. I would not be sitting to mend. Reading is the same struggle. You know, I want to sit down and read, but there's a project that. So I just love the idea of everyone taking time and doing it.
Absolutely.
Do you have an online store?
I don't. I have sort of a website, but the thing that I'm more active on is my YouTube channel with all my goofy videos. It's Alter Eco Fashion. But I don't. I think my calling is more sharing and learning ideas about upcycling rather than selling stuff. I'm just not a seller person, a business person.
Yeah. Well, I just, you know, from looking at the things that you put together, the sweatshirts and sweaters, I thought, boy, there's people would love to have those.
Oh, thank you. I usually make them for myself or give them away to friends. There's one last video that I want to show you all, if you don't mind watching while you're stitching. And this is for cuffs, because I know that cuffs on sweaters is another real issue. They get frayed. And there's some things you can do that I thought were helpful. So I wanted to share that with you. And there's also, I don't know if you all have seen this, but if your cuffs ever get big, I watched a couple of videos on this, if they get kind of stretched out, you can actually, you have to be careful, you don't want it too hot and shrink it. But if you dip it in warmish water and then use a blow dryer or an iron to dry it, it'll actually go back into shape. Because, you know, sometimes you have them for a long time, they get kind of floppy and big. You can actually kind of reshape them by just spotting where you shrink it. So I thought that was kind of a fun tip to pass along. But here's the little cuff video. Right. And this doesn't have music or goofiness.
Our sweater cuffs fail us in many ways. Luckily, there's lots of things we can do to fix them. For a hole on the cuff's edge, such as this, we can add a patch. Find a scrap of fabric that's bigger than the hole in your cuff.
It's a little bit like what you're doing, Cody.
Baste or pin the scrap underneath the hole, lining up the edges. Last, sew a modified whip stitch around the edges of the hole to hold it in place. You can also darn over the edge of a cuff. Find a jar to secure the sweater. Then use your embroidery thread and begin darning across the cuff as close to the top as possible.
This I did on my sweater. I really liked it. Worked really nice.
First, you'll make all of the horizontal stitches. Then begin weaving in the opposite direction, over and under, until you have the look that you want. When finished, it might look something like this, especially if you have a dog.
There's a lot of dog hair in it.
Another thing you can do, if the cuff edges are extremely frayed, is simply fold over the cuff, sew it down to the wrong side, and now you have a slightly shorter
Yeah, this
but
I've
good
done
as
a
new
lot. I'll
cuff.
show you an example when we're done.
Another thing you can do for well-worn cuffs is simply replace them. First, cut off the offending cuff. Cut off the cuffs of another sweater or sweatshirt you might have lying around. Cut just below the seam. Sew the new cuffs onto the sweater just below the seam, and just like that, you have brand new cuffs.
Oh, that's nice.
If you don't have projects lying around that you can cut the cuffs off of, you can also make your own cuffs by using something stretchy like a sweatshirt or a t-shirt. Cut a length a little over double the length you want your cuff to be. Now, fold your long tube in half so that the right sides are facing out, and now you have a cuff.
Wow.
So that here, I'll stop sharing. So I did that. I did the fold over technique with these cuffs. You can kind of tell. Oops.
Ooh.
Oops.
There we go.
You can tell the difference in the size. This is the. Let's see. I'll line them up.
Oh,
You can kind of folded it over, and this cuff. It's sorry, all the little pieces, but it's shorter, right? And then this, and it's it's not as nice and long as this guy, but it preserves your cuff, and you still get the cinched in. So that's kind of a nice strategy, because it always seems to be the very ends, right? Sweaters they get all yucky. So that's one little cheat. You could also probably even sew, do like a little liner, sew another cuff inside and turn it inside out to sort of reinforce it. But anyway. Feels like cuffs and moth holes are the big sweater fences.
Definitely moth holes.
Yeah. Although, has anyone had any luck with cedar? I've always heard that's supposed to help, right? Like little blocks of cedar. No, is that not for moths?
Yeah, it is for moths, but I don't know. I don't know. Seem to find the sweaters anyway. Lavender's meant to be good too, I believe.
Right? Yep, it is like little sachets of it, right?
Mm.
I suppose it's worth a try. Those aren't bad things for your sweaters to smell like, right? Either of those.
True.
Yeah.
Do you think they're meant to eat the lavender instead of the sweater?
That's a good question. I don't know. Or maybe they
Leave
get so
food out.
intoxicated by the smell.
I like the coconut oil jar.
Oh, that was,
technique.
yeah, that was a really handy way to darn for cuffs. I mean, it's not a butternut squash, but you know, it suffices.
It's the perfect shape for the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I give
For socks, I used a light bulb,
Oh,
as
yeah,
long as you don't break it.
right. See, I wouldn't trust myself not to break it, but that's a really good idea because it's a nice shape.
Yeah, good shape and lightweight. And I finished.
No way.
let's see.
So now it's wearable again.
Ooh.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Oh,
wait.
that makes me so
I
happy.
also heard about moths that they really only eat sweaters that aren't perfectly clean.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's me, not perfectly clean.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that explains why I have so many moth holes. Wow. Hey, Nancy, would you mind taking a picture of that and sending it to Janet? Or you could send it to me. I can give you my email. Just because it's so cool to have a success story.
Okay.
That we
But
went.
you won't, I didn't take a before picture though,
Oh, that's a good point.
but
That's okay.
yeah.
I mean, you don't have to do it right this second, but if it helps you remember, that would be awesome. Because
It could be a competition, find out where the hole was.
there you go. Spot the hole.
Spot the mending.
Love it.
Well, and I can see where this sweater was mended before.
Oh. By someone else?
No, I think by me,
Oh.
but I forget a lot.
Ooh.
That's why that sashiko, you know, that visible mending technique really appeals to me, because if you do it so you can see it, you know, you don't mind the way it looks, you kind of have a little you know, like a, I don't know, memory album kind of stitched into your sweater, right? You have little reminders of where you were when you got the hole and where you were when you mended it.
I went a few years ago and they had this thing at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. And you could go there and they would mend something for you.
Ooh.
Oh,
And
was it like a
also-
repair cafe?
You could also volunteer to mend. And so it was my big day out. And all the volunteer spaces were filled up by art students who got credit for it. But I kind of bugged them. And it turns out the art student didn't show up and they let me do it. It was so much fun because it was about sitting there and talking to the people, you know? And plus, no one wears anything that needs mending to the museum.
Right.
But
that's a good point.
they had great thread colors and it was fun. And none of those art students knew. Everybody here is a better sewer than any of those art students.
You know what? That sounds a lot like, I don't know if you all have heard about this, something that's actually happening at a lot of libraries and community centers is repair cafes, where they do mending, but then also electrical and electronics, IT stuff. And obviously it was pre-COVID, but the only rule, you couldn't drop stuff off. You had to come and it was a community thing. And it just sounds so delightful. It sounds similar to what you're talking about, Nancy, just, community event, and you walk away feeling good because your thing was fixed, or,
Yeah, and you talk to the person a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you mend anything?
Yes, the lady who worked in the gift shop, she brought some stuff to be mended, and I talked to her.
Nice. Was it hand sewing, or did you sew on a machine, or how?
No, it was hand sewing.
That's awesome.
It was fun because you were lord of this table of great supplies.
Mm. Mm.
A lot of stories have been passed down through sewing. The tapestry and then
Samplers.
so long ago, clothes passed down that were mended by different generations. And
Cody, my great grandma used to, so she learned to sew she sewed during the Depression, and she never stopped sewing that way. And she used to make these 4 square quilts out of clothing. And I just always thought that, it's like they'd worn out, they'd gone from clothing to hand-me-downs to rags to, to scraps, and they didn't throw anything away. And I remember thinking that was the coolest thing, because you'd start, especially as I got older, and she started using my old clothes, you start to see things that you recognized in the quilt. It just was such I don't know, something so dear about that,
and the quilts for sending messages through the Underground Railroad, quilts hanging on the line that actually tell where to go, where to spend the night, where not to go.
I never heard that. They're like signals to people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know
that. They're called a certain thing. I have to see if I can find it on Google. But yes, and women would get together to make the quilts with, pre-messages on them, so that those would be hanging on the line in a certain town to give the go-ahead or the caution.
Oh, I would love to hear more about that. I'm going to do some research. That sounds amazing.
Like, we have our signal flags for the, are you looking it up? And I think it's called, there's group of women the women of, it's a place. But yeah, we have those nautical flags that have the.
That's what I was thinking of. Those all mean something, and you can see them from far away, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this just says, long before American slaves used quilts hung from windowsills and clotheslines as a signal to others to help them escape the North for freedom. These quilts contain symbols sewn into them. Oh, it's the Pleasant Hill Quilting Group.
There we go.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Oh, sorry, it says on the Underground Railroad Quilt Code. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The Underground Railroad Quilt Code. I'll have to read more about that. is interesting. Wow, thank you for that, Cody.
Sure.
That is some dedication, right? Because it would take a long time to get that message, to get it sewn in.
Yes, and I think that there like the code, that there are they get together at a certain time to have quilting bees if they could. Of course, lots of women were not free, being slaves and all, to do that. But if they could, they would gather and do what we're doing right now, be social and get it done. And there were standard patterns that would mean, stay back. Food at a certain place, shelter at a certain place. And it was just, I don't know, but that's such a wonderful, doing this just makes me think of, it's sparking the ideas of all the things that women, mostly 99.9%, all the very historically significant, hopeful things that have been accomplished by gathering and sewing.
It is amazing, isn't it? Well, it's also passing on information too, right? It's not just gossip. I'm sure a lot of, what's the word? Conspiring has happened.
Right.
Through
Right.
quilting bees, is because they seem so innocuous.
And news. You were talking about the Lowell Museum. I'm kind of sad that it's gone, but I have
your own, because I might have been wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but
I think you're right.
I think you're right. It's coming
yeah,
back.
I think you're right.
It makes sense that it would be hard to keep it, sustaining itself. But that in Lowell, that is a particularly interesting time when the Irish immigrants, the man, I cannot remember his name, but the significant thing is that the man that had the first major textile factory in Lowell.
That's right.
His brother was the banker. That's what he did. He owned the bank. And what happened is that Irish immigrants were being enslaved, really, and mistreated and underpaid. And there was no possibility whatsoever of climbing a salary scale, so that once you sat at the sewing machine, that's where you stayed for the rest of your life at a certain wage. And people began to leave because work was becoming available in other places in the country, like in the South. And the banker and these two brothers did some brainstorming because they were losing their profits because people were leaving. And here's what they came up with. Okay, there will be a system where some, just very few, and they have to be the men, can progress in the textile factory, and they will become foremen, and they will manage the other people, and they will get higher pay. And you, my brother, what we will do is that we will loan them enough money, and we will give them a piece of property, and they will not be able to pay it off in their lifetime. But once they have a piece of property of their own, we have them. They will not be able to leave. And that was the first mortgage.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's really terrifying that the point of the first mortgage was to keep someone owing money.
It's still
Roughly
true.
time. Yeah.
I think I would love to try living in any number of other places. I've been here for, 35 years, and I stay because, well, I built my house on the property, and even though it would allow me a financial freedom and a whole different way of life than I have, it would never come back. We lived in a tent on this property and put a well in, and it's that kind of thing, though, that that's the idea. It's like, yeah, well, they're not going to leave their property once they have it.
I had never heard that. I need to work at the library, I think.
I actually, somewhere in my life, I do have some articles about that. But it incensed me, really, when I learned about it.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely. I can see why. It was deliberate. I am so curious about what Nancy's got going on in her screen. You've got something colorful.
Well, these are some socks I was gonna darn.
Nice. With your light bulb.
And I got my mending bag out. Now that I've completed my sweater, I didn't want to leave early.
No, that's awesome. But speaking of which, I think we're coming to the end of our time here.
Maybe I won't even start this then.
Oh, no, I don't want to. You can do it without us. But I just wanted to thank everyone for coming and for your conversation and sharing what you're working on and being open to hearing new ideas. And before we go, does anyone have any last questions or requests?
The next class is buttons.
The March 3rd buttons. Yep. And that one will have a kit.
And how many classes are there?
There's 6 altogether.
Oh, good.
Well, I'd like to just say thank you very much for hosting this and getting us all repairing.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you all for coming.
It's been good.